What's up, guys? So today's review is going to be up pretty late. I won't be surprised if this will be up not until tomorrow, Tuesday. I'm not too sure, but I had to write up all the information that I wanted to talk about because there's a lot of information that I want to talk about. Today's video game review is going to be Gears of War 1. Like I said before in another video, I said that September was going to be dedicated to Gears of War. Now, I'm not just going to be doing a bunch of Gears of War videos, but I am going to be doing a lot of Gears of War videos. Today's going to be a review of Gears of War, but also it's going to be kind of like a background to the story of Gears of War 1, because I know a lot of people haven't played Gears of War, either because they have a PS3, they don't have an Xbox, or they just never went to play it, or they just didn't want to play it. And I know some people that haven't played Gears of War 1 or 2 and actually want to play Gears of War 3. Since Gears of War is so supported by the storyline, and this is a type of game where it's not like like someone could say, oh yeah, you could go ahead and play it, it doesn't matter. You could go ahead and jump into Gears of War 3 and you totally know what's going on. You probably won't. I would not recommend you play Gears of War without knowing anything of the past games. So that's why I want to really focus on Gears of War this month, because I just really want to inform you guys so that you're not missing out on the story, on the characters, because it is a really, really good story. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to talk about Gears of War 1. First I'm going to talk about the story, the background, and all that. And then I'm going to give a brief review at the end. So let's get started. So the game, as most of you know, it's a third-person shooter, and it takes place in a sci-fi world called Sera, or Sera, some people say. So it's not on Earth. Unknown to humans, though, before all hell broke loose, before you're fighting these monsters, there was also an endless series of tunnels underneath underneath the surface, so like subterranean. And this is called the Hollows. And this is where the locusts live. And the locusts are the monsters that you're fighting in Gears of War. So before all hell broke loose, humans didn't know that this existed under the ground. There's a few continents on Sera, but the two superpowers are the Coalition of Ordered Governments, it's called the COG, and the Union of Independent Republics, or the UIR. For this game, you're just going to have to know about the COG, because the COG and the UIR lost contact after Emergence Day. Emergence Day is when the Locust emerged from underground. So when they came up to the surface and started to attack all of Sera, like everywhere. That's what's called Emergence Day or E-Day. So in the COG, they have the COG Army, the COG Navy. So that's where you belong. That's where Marcus belongs, in the COG Army. And they're also called Gears. And the reason why they're called Gears is because the COG is a gear. Like it's another word for a gear. It's a type of gear, like a mechanical gear. And that's why the symbol of the COG Army, or the COG in general, is a gear. Gears of War 1 takes place 14 years after Emergence Day. The Locust War, starting on E-Day, was the worst destruction that humans have ever seen on Sera, but they've always been, the COG and the UIR have always been in war. Like for years, 79 years, they were in war before the Locust War. And this is called the Pendulum Wars. And I believe it's mentioned like a little bit, maybe it might be like just referred to in the game. So just so you know what the Pendulum Wars, that's what it is. It was a war between these two superpowers in Sera, and they were basically fighting. It's kind of like the fight for oil. They were fighting for what's called emulsion, and it's this yellow liquid that's basically like energy. It's like fuel. It's like oil, like petroleum, and it's all underground, the yellow stuff. So they were fighting for that because they could power cars and all that. So they fought for 79 years for this stuff. So there hasn't been peace in Sera for a long, long time. The Locusts are led by what they refer to as a queen. Their queen. And you don't learn a lot about her until Gears of War 2, but she does narrate the intro and the outro of Gears of War. Of Gears of War 1 and Gears of War 2. So, she's the lady that you hear talking. She is the Locust Queen. She's the one that is leading the Locusts. And her name, I forgot how to pronounce it. It's either Mira or Myra. I don't remember how to pronounce it. But this is how you spell it. You guys know I'm horrible at names. So at the beginning of Gears of War 1, the chief of the COG defenses, which is Colonel Hoffman, Victor Hoffman, he's kind of a punk, but you know, he gets the job done. Pardons all of the prisoners from a prison in Jacinto, which is the last human city stronghold. It's the only city so far that the Locusts haven't really been able to take over. So it's the one city that the humans are protecting, and but this is where this prison is, and they call it the slab. So Colonel Hoffman pardons all of the prisoners from the slab because they basically need all the soldiers they can get. And Marcus Fenix, the main character, is in the slab. He was imprisoned in the slab for 4 years so far because he was serving a 40-year sentence for dereliction of duty, which is basically for deserting the battlefield. Marcus joined the army, the COG army, when he was 17 years old. He fought in the Pendulum Wars and fought 10 years of the Locust Wars. The reason why he went to prison was because of the desertion, but he deserted because he was going to try to save his father. He found out that he was in danger, and he just left to try to save him. But what happened was that Marcus was too late, and presumably his father, Adam Fenix, had died. He was dead, and Marcus never found him. Like, he was presumed dead. Even though this all happened, though, he's still highly regarded as a military hero. From the Pendulum Wars, he won like the highest medal that they could give you in the Pendulum Wars, and he's considered a war hero, like one of the most respected ones. His father, Adam Fenix, used to be a major in the COG army. Back in the Pendulum Wars. But he retired that position and became a professor at a university because he said that the scientists that worked on weapons development were the ones that ended wars. So he really wanted to end the Pendulum Wars and then the Locust Wars. So he went into that to try to find a way to create a weapon that would end the war. He got like the blueprints of this weapon that the UIR was working on. He basically stole those blueprints and he finished it. Like, he created the weapon, and it's called the Hammer of Dawn. And he truly thought that the Hammer of Dawn would end the war. And what the Hammer of Dawn is, it's a very powerful weapon that when you trigger it, it connects with a satellite like out in space and charges an emulsion beam that comes down from the sky and just destroys anything that it hits. And you get to use this weapon in Gears of War 1, which is pretty cool. So anyways, when Marcus is released from prison, he's released by his previous partner and best friend, Dominic Santiago. After this, he joins Delta Squad, which is led by, at the time, by a soldier called Min Kim. And he's this, like, by-the-book soldier that demands respect, basically. So your first assignment is to locate Alpha Squad. Alpha Squad went missing, so you have to go out and look for it to see what happened to them. And you later realize that the only people that survived from Alpha Squad were two guys. The rest of it was destroyed. And those two guys are Augustus Cole, also known as Coltrane, and Damon Baird. So Cole and Baird become part of your Delta Squad. They become part of the Gears of War main characters. They're part of that four group: Marcus, Dom, Cole, and Baird. Cole was a linebacker for a sport called thrashball, which is kind of like your football. And this sport is it's very popular, especially among the COG army, because they listen, like especially during the Pendulum Wars, they would listen to the games like through the radio and all that, and the superiors actually preferred it that way because it kind of kept morale up. So Cole used to play on one of the teams for thrashball, and that's why he's this huge guy. I mean, he's super muscular, and because he was like a linebacker for thrashball, and but he quit that job and then he joined the army. But everybody knows who he is, because especially in the army, because they all would, they would hear about the Cole train in thrashball. So Cole is pretty well respected when it comes to the rest of the soldiers. And he's an awesome character. He's super funny, but that's who Cole is. Baird is a highly experienced mechanic. I mean, he could fix anything. Anything that's mechanical, he could fix it. He's really, really smart. He knows, he's the smartest of the group. Not to say that they're all dumb or anything, but Baird is, the whiz kid, the Einstein. He's an expert on locusts, so he could tell you what each locust is and what they do and all that. He really comes in handy, but the only problem is that he's a major jerk. He hates people. He will get in your face no matter who you are. The only person he considers his friend is Cole. They've been together for years, so Cole and Baird are inseparable. So continuing on, during a locust attack on the streets, one of the locust generals they call him Ram, kills Min Kim, and Central Command promotes Marcus to sergeant and the leader of Delta. So that's how Marcus becomes the leader of your squad. And after this, Marcus and Dom are referred to as Delta 1, and Baird and Cole are referred to as Delta 2. The plot of the game is basically that Delta Squad has to locate a device called the Resonator. And the reason why they need this Resonator is because, in theory, the Resonator will give the COG a good idea of how big the hollow is, at least in that area, like how deep and how wide the actual locust tunnels run. So they want like a virtual map of the hollow. So the Resonator is kind of like they would deploy it underground, and it would be almost like a camera that would give them a map of the locust tunnels. But when you find it and you deploy it, it turns out that it didn't work the way that they wanted it to. It actually only gave you like a little piece of the locust tunnels, not enough to do anything. Like they were like, this didn't work. We need more data. And Anya Stroud, which is one of the main characters, but she doesn't really come out. She's the one that's always talking to you through your comm. She's part of command, but that's what she does. She talks to you and she tells you, go through here, or there's locusts ahead and stuff like that. And she says that the data that they're looking for is actually in Marcus's house, the Fenix estate, like the mansion. His father had a mansion. The Adam Phoenix had data where it showed like a wider range of the hollows. So you have to go to the Phoenix estate, and basically your house, and get into your father's laboratory and get the data. When you get there, it's pretty cool. It's a huge house. It's like totally run down, and there's a lot of locusts there, so you have to kill a bunch of locusts when you get there. But once you get into the laboratory, your father's laboratory, you do get the data. Turns out that the hollow is actually really big, like bigger than they all thought. It's actually kind of like a honeycomb with the tunnels like running, and it looks almost like it's like they're endless. Like that's how big the hollow is, and they didn't even get all of it, but they got a good picture of it. And it was way bigger than they even imagined. So the reason why you needed this information, the hollow, like a map, a virtual map of the hollow, was to deploy the lightmass bomb. This is all called the lightmass offensive, And they do mention it, so just so you guys know, when you hear the lightmass offensive, this is what they're talking about. This bomb, it doesn't work exactly like a bomb. It's a little more complicated than that. It's more like missiles. They work more like a missile or like a torpedo. It can only be precise in its destruction if it has like an actual map of the area that it's gonna destroy. So that's why you needed the resonator, or turns out Adam Phoenix's data, so that the torpedoes or the missiles actually know where to go directly and destroy. So that's why you needed that information. So you get that information and you input it into the lightmass bomb, and then detonate it, and the missiles go directly into the ground and destroy the locust tunnels. This all happens at the end. The Gears of War is arranged in acts. So you've got 5 acts. So this all happens in Act 5. After you defeat that one general, that locust general that killed Min Kim, Ram. After you kill him, which is a horrible battle, you detonate the bomb in hopes of destroying the Hollow. But during the end cinematic, you could hear the Locust Queen, and she's saying how, like, that it did hurt them, the lightmass bomb, but that they were still there. Like, they didn't destroy the Locusts, that they were still strong, and, like, they weren't gonna stop until they killed all of humanity, or until they were completely gone. So it kind of just sets the stage for Gears of War 2. And that's how Gears of War 1 ends.